Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, the dive bars of Seattle, is proud to be sponsored by the Stedman Group.
The Stedman Group is a local independent business that owns and operates Targey's Tavern, profiled here in Season 1, Episode 9, The Pogie, Season 2, Episode 12, the Duval Tavern in Duval, and Larry's Tavern in West Seattle.
All of us here at the podcast are pretty tough critics when it comes to how the local dive bars are being run, and we have always been extremely impressed with all the dive bars owned by the Stedmans. This is because all drinking establishments, especially those that have been around for a while, each have their own unique character and charm, and it's obvious when you walk into a Stedman's bar that you are devoted to maintaining that tradition. And for that, we raise our glasses and cheers.
The Stedman Group, committed to preserving the legacy of dive bars throughout the Puget Sound region.
Hello and welcome to the big show. This is Dim Lights and Stiff Drinks, the dive bars of Seattle. We're setting out to document those bars that have a seedy backstory and interesting history behind them. But we're not just talking about these places in the quiet confines of some home studio somewhere. No, we are not. We are actually visiting these places and recording each episode live on location. In this podcast, we visit the places where bad decisions and future regrets are made, so you don't have to. Joining me as always is the man, the myth, the legend. I'm of course talking about our producer, Bob Trombley. How are you doing, Bob?
Hey now.
And of course, my two co-hosts, Lou and Jeremy. How are you guys doing?
We're doing good. We're on a road trip, Brad.
We're on a road trip. We're coming off a pretty epic weekend. We, the three of us went to Daryl's Tavern for the Surf Rock Festival on Friday. Was amazing. Killer bands. The Seafair Pirates showed up.
Woo!
And
Hammered.
I think there is an entire
They were so
episode.
drunk.
There's an entire episode of
There
just
is.
that 1 hour period at
Yeah.
the Surf by Surfwest Festival for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I think that's coming soon.
Yeah,
And for the
and it-
record, Brad, this episode I'm going with MC Southside.
MC, okay, very
And
appropriate.
We'll get into the reason why, of course.
handle?
Yep.
That's right.
Okay.
Well, we've been talking for a while now about visiting some new dive bars outside of the Seattle area, and today we finally put that plan in action and are at the historic Parkway Tavern in Tacoma. Super cool place, but wait, it gets even better. Not only are we recording in another city, but we are also joined by two very special guests, Shea and Jody from Rainy Day Rabbit Holes podcast, a Tacoma-based podcast that examines the kind of the quirkier side of Pacific Northwest history. Welcome to the show, Shea and Jody.
Thanks. Hey, I'm Shay.
I'm Jody.
Yeah, we do all the fun, quirky, weird.
Salacious. We
We love
salacious.
Give us
Yeah.
some scandals.
Yeah.
we do all the stories of the Pacific Northwest. We dive in. We don't take it too seriously.
That's what I like
kinda-
about your
yeah.
podcast.
Yeah.
Some themes going on here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we
Love it.
use champagne while we're recording.
It's
so
called
that's-
pod juice.
Pod juice, okay. A special type of champagne?
Oh
or
no, whatever's cheapest.
whatever's cheap? Okay, all right.
Lots of
God,
it.
I wish I had coined pod juice. That's good.
Yeah.
That's not.
Pod
I
juice.
can't take credit for that. It's the Greatest Generation podcast, a Star Trek podcast, that coined that one, and
Pod
I'm just
juice.
ripping them off.
Okay. All right.
Well, recording a dive bar podcast, there's a lot of pod juice on our episode.
yeah.
Mm,
Well,
definitely full
Yes.
pod juice.
Yeah.
Usually not champagne level.
The fermented
No,
variety.
no.
Yeah.
Lots of innuendos.
The champagne
we make
of
sure
beers,
that have
perhaps.
those.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, you guys aren't afraid to go off color.
No, we
But
are
that makes
not.
that's what I like about your podcast. Like you cover the history stories really cool, but you know, you're not afraid to get a little crass.
We show our true side.
Yeah,
Or as my mom would say, vulgar.
yeah.
Well, I suppose warning to the audience, right? Because if they're thinking this is a family podcast,
Yeah, no, it's not.
maybe not this episode.
Even my own
Yeah.
grandkids, they only get to hear them if they're been previewed, and they've only heard one.
They're not all that bad.
Well, they're little.
I would
That's
say
true.
PG-13, not quite R. If I had to rate your guys' podcast, I would say PG-13.
Yeah,
Would
yeah,
you
yeah.
agree with that?
Brad, you haven't heard our Bigfoot Erotica podcast.
Apparently I have.
You can only get that as a Patreon member.
Okay.
It's when we regretfully recorded
Is this,
thinking it was a great idea.
NC-17 or what are we talking about?
No, it's more like X.
Triple X.
Oh, whoa.
We did research on Bigfoot
a
erotica
podcast.
because
Holy
it turns out that's a
cow.
thing. And
Yeah.
then I
Is it really?
Wow.
yeah,
Little did you know.
so I listened to some audiobooks and then we tried to record a recap, and we had to make it a Patreon because I don't think anybody should listen to it.
Bigfoot.
We're
or
still going to
Rotocraft?
therapy.
Oh, jeez.
All right.
Just
Or
kidding.
more than me. She had to
Oh
read
my
the book.
God.
I had to write the
Oh.
story, and I feel like I probably should have reported this book to certain folks, but you'll have
So
to
you're
just.
saying
Holy
this is
cow.
not a rabbit hole you particularly want to go down? for the
No,
average
we
person?
actually
Okay.
spent the time on it, recorded it, and shelved it until we got a
Yeah.
Patreon. So now
Yeah.
you can pay to see hear it,
It
but
was
we're
too hot for
we're not
Spotify.
super proud of it.
Too hot for Spotify.
That's a good sell for
Yeah.
the Patreon.
That is a good
Yeah.
sell.
But
Yeah.
if,
Too
you,
hot for
if you
Spotify.
do jump over that paywall in Patreon, there's 37 episodes of this salacious content you can absorb.
Yeah.
That's right.
And more.
Yeah.
And more to come.
No
Not
pun,
a
no
CUM.
pun intended.
Not see you.
Oh my god.
Well, we're-
Wait, how salacious is your podcast? Are we going to ruin it?
Oh my
There's
god.
an E rating on this for sure, right?
Ours is goddamn kids show in comparison.
yeah, I was gonna
Holy
say
shit.
ours is maybe PG. I
Yeah.
don't know.
There's a bunch of guys drinking in
go-
bars, which is like
Yeah.
super tame for what you guys are talking
That's what I
about.
was thinking.
Sometimes if we stumble onto salacious history like your show does, then it will come up.
Now
Yeah.
we do drop an F-bomb once in a while.
Yeah, there's F-bombs
right?
dropping.
Yeah, you know. And make sure we're not in the kids
Yeah,
channel on
mostly me.
YouTube or something. Yeah, lose the worst. But yeah, by
Potty
far.
mouth here.
Yeah, lose
Yeah.
the
I'll
worst.
take it straight down the gutter.
Well, we're glad to have you guys on our podcast today. You know, we decided to team up for Tacoma Beer Week, which is coming up. It's from August 9th through 18th. So we thought this would be kind of a cool way to promote it and come together and cross-promote our podcast. So
Yeah, absolutely. And we're excited to have you guys down here. We feel like we're hosting
Thank you.
in our backyard.
Yes.
Absolutely.
this is an amazing
Wonderful
place.
ambassadors to the
Yeah.
city. So
Thank
thank
you.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Parkway is a fabulous venue for.
I've never been here before.
actually.
We didn't mention where we are yet.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
sorry,
yeah,
no,
thank
sorry.
but, no,
you.
you
Continue on.
You reminded us that we fucked up.
And we'll tell you how amazing it is.
That's
Yes.
okay. That's how our podcast goes. Yeah, we are at the historic Parkway Tavern in Tacoma. And we're going to get into the story of that. But yeah, is there anything else you guys want to say about your podcast or anything before we get started?
Well, our podcast, I mean, I feel like we've made it out to be like it's a filth bucket,
Yeah.
but it really
Cesspool
isn't.
of
It is
disgusting
not.
depravity
That's just that
and-
one
This is an
episode.
option.
We do
Which you have to
sometimes
pay extra for.
wonder about the size of Bigfoot's junk, but just because nobody's seen it yet, I mean,
Or
are you
have
serious?
they? Or
There's
have
no
they?
reported cases
No
of it or anything?
sightings of
No,
that.
No
no
sightings of it?
sightings of Bigfoot's junk.
Except for in the erotica. Lots of sightings.
Oh, yeah.
And
I hate-
descriptions.
Oh, no.
He might be at the Pike Place Market in the nude as we speak right now. I'm going to throw that out there.
Really?
Ooh.
Yep. You
Yeah.
can you could actually go and get a hunk of his junk if you wanted to.
Oh,
right?
Wait, what?
I'm just saying.
You're going to have
Okay,
to put
you're
some
gonna
beats
have
to
to-
that.
That is
Yeah,
another
elaborate on this,
episode
yeah.
that you must pay extra
Yeah,
for.
you're gonna-
It's in
Yeah.
the atrium.
I think you
I'll
got
just-
their attention.
Okay, you're going to have to send me some links
Yes,
after this.
I will.
Now that makes me sound like a
We,
Bigfoot
we want to
pervert.
do like a quarterly Bigfoot episode, so they get the next one.
But our podcast really does dive into some really interesting aspects of history. We've gotten
Yeah.
into a couple
Yeah.
of great Tacoma stories in the last couple of months.
Yeah.
That really, I think, showcase the grit and just
Yeah.
coolness of Tacoma. And in fact,
Yeah.
later on in this podcast, I would love to tell you a little bit more history of Tacoma. So
Please.
I've
We would
got
love to
some,
hear it.
some great
Yeah.
tidbits for you. And we are going to be doing more prohibition episodes.
Awesome.
One with Brad here.
Yep.
And we have a lot of really fun and exciting things coming up in the next year. So we're excited. So everybody needs to subscribe and trust me, it's not all filth.
No, I've listened to several of your guys' episodes. Again, it's the Rainy Day Rabbit Holes podcast. Check it out. You guys are on Spotify, Apple, all streaming
All the big
platforms.
ones.
Yeah.
All the big
everywhere you
ones.
get your
Your
podcast.
best
You guys
bet-
go over really cool history.
Thank you. Yeah, your best bet is to go directly to our website, rainydayrabbitholes.com. That's the
Nice.
easiest way to find it. And you can find links to all the platforms there. Our Patreon, if you want to listen to some filth, some Bigfoot filth. And our shop, too.
I think your Patreon is going to blow up now.
Oh, you got
Yeah.
merch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do. We have merch. We have our
Nice.
new logo, which is our podcast Bigfoot. On
Cool
our
logo.
shirts, we have several different options there: shirts, sweatshirts, tank
Right
tops,
on.
hats, the whole 9 yards. So give us some beer money, man.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, that's what it amounts to, right?
Yes,
all that,
because
all
we-
proceeds, that's what
Right,
it
we are
eventually-
not getting rich here. We're having a great
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, what
Hopefully
is-
you are too.
What do you call this? Our enterprise? A nonprofit.
Oh, not yet. Yes, all right.
nonprofit.
Yes,
Yeah.
That's the joke since we got a bank
Aren't-
account.
aren't all
was,
the podcasts-
They
Yeah.
asked,
all
"Were you
the
not? Are you
podcasts.
nonprofit or not?" I'm like, Give me your
Well-
definition.
We know where you're coming from with
I'm not
that.
going to file a 501c3, but we're nonprofit.
We like to think of ourselves as a community service.
There
There
you
you
go.
go.
There you go.
Oh, yes.
That's what we
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
We
And
give a
and for our
service.
international
Free
audience
education.
who's wondering where the F Tacoma is, just Google it. We're a little we're a little south. We're a
An
little south
hour
of Seattle.
south of Seattle.
Yeah,
Half hour.
yeah.
Half hour.
Depending on traffic.
What, yeah, what
depending on
day
traffic. It took
and
us
what
40
time of
minutes
day?
today, so
But
not too bad.
there's a shit ton of great towns
Yeah.
in and around the Seattle
Where did
area.
you
Tacoma
start?
being one of them, right? So-
Downtown Seattle.
Downtown.
Picking
Okay.
up these two hooligans right
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, 10 minutes was just getting out of the market.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah, pretty much.
Oh my God.
I live in Pike Place Market.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so
Whoa.
Craziness.
yeah.
Well, and he used to have a podcast. That,
Well, that's how we met
That's
with
how we
the
met,
Pike Place
yeah.
podcast. So if you want to learn more about the market, which is why I was talking about Bigfoot,
Yeah.
check
Oh,
that out.
gotcha.
All right. I got a new podcast to listen to.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right on.
All right, well, let's get started on the history of this place, the Parkway Tavern. So, the Parkway Tavern originally started in 1935 as Rawlings Market, which was your typical neighborhood corner store from that era. In 1950, it was sold to a married couple, Al and Etta Moody, and they renamed it the Parkway Tavern and Delicatessen. Al and Etta were Tacoma natives who had originally met as teens while attending Lincoln High School. They had previously owned a tavern known as the Terry Tavern, and Parkway was their second tavern that they owned and operated together. The Parkway Tavern and Deli was kind of like a bodega,
Okay.
kind of like a corner store with a tavern attached to it. And when I was reading about this, I was like, why isn't there more of those kind of places?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
Right, it
go
seems like
get
a great
some
business
groceries,
model.
grab a quick pint, do your
Oh, my
grocery
husband
shopping.
would be so in because then he
Right?
wouldn't have to stop at two places. Every
Right.
time he leaves the house, he has to stop for a beer. He could
Yeah.
get it all done at one place.
A two for a two for
why
one.
they put bars in bowling alleys.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, you don't want to have to go to two different places.
But this seemed like it should have been $1 million idea, but
I
it just
know.
never quite took off for reasons that are unknown. I'll never forget that one.
So in-
Be the store and the bar.
Exactly.
Get 2 for 1.
Yeah, exactly. It's
So
a
in
twofer.
Phoenix, there's this great place called King's Convenience. I don't know if you guys have ever visited Phoenix. If
Is
you
that
go
a
down,
chain down there?
no, it is a quickie mart that has the best beer selection, just bottles and cases and cans. And attached to it is a tap room that has about 115 different beers, meads, and ciders on tap.
Wow.
Whoa.
So the first time my brother brought me in there, they had Dogfish Head's World Stout on tap, which is, I want to say it that year's was 16%.
Oh,
I
hello.
remember that.
And
Yeah.
you could,
Firewater.
This place, for some reason, had not figured out its pricing. You could buy a pint of that for $8.
Wow.
Which should be illegal.
Yeah, technically they shouldn't serve you more than
Yeah, more than- I
right?
think-
They
Yeah.
serve
Yeah.
you. They would serve you a pint of it. So they've
Since
scaled
it
back a little
yeah.
bit because they probably had people getting in car
Fights.
accidents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dropping
but
dead.
that's the idea. Like, there's a quickie mart, and then there's
Yeah.
that, and then in Cannon Beach, Oregon, there's a place called the Hardware Store, which is a
yeah.
hardware store with a bar attached to it.
That's right.
That's your husband's type of place.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. Well, he needs his Home Depot and his grocery store to have a little bar attached.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Or his hardware store, not his.
Home Depot has to have investigated that, right? There's
least
got to
had to
be
look into
there's got to be
it.
a room full of like
my gosh,
lawyers
can you
and
imagine?
suits and
Right?
shit going.
Right.
No, if we sell chainsaws, we can't have a
Oh
party.
no, probably not
Yeah.
a good idea.
Yeah.
And you can basically
It's-
buy a flamethrower.
In some states, I think I'm sure it's perfectly allowed in some states. So they just got to figure out the
The
magic
whole
formula.
hold my beer statement might turn into something
Right.
new.
Well, so in 1958, Al and Etta sold the Parkway, would then take ownership of yet another new tavern known as the Cloverleaf, which is still in operation as a known pizza joint and tavern. Have you guys been to
I
the
have
Cloverleaf?
not been to that one. No, surprising.
Yeah.
What? Do you know where it's located?
I do not. I
We'll have
do
to look
not.
that
I don't
up.
have the address for it. But yeah, it's still going strong. When they opened it, it was just a tavern. Then at some point, it sounds like they sold it in the 60s. And then whoever bought it was like, I think we're going to start selling pizza here. And then it became like a kind of an iconic pizza joint. So,
Well,
but it's
check that
interesting
out.
that they had their thumbs in a
Yeah,
lot
yeah.
of these iconic places.
Like got him started and then checked out.
Yeah, that seems to be their MO.
It's like the Stedman Group of Tacoma. Should I have a response?
Yeah. Oh, and to answer your question, so they would then sell Parkway and go on to do another one, and they just kept doing that. It sounds like they would start a place, operate it for a few years, and then sell it and go somewhere else.
They like to start things, but not
Not
maintain
seeing
them.
through. Yeah.
I can get that. That's the hard part.
Now, when the Moody's sold this place in '58, they sold it to a guy by the name of Alex McPhail, who then did away with the store part of it and kept it strictly as a tavern. So that's when it went from the Parkway Tavern in Delhi to just the Parkway Tavern.
I'm trying to imagine this place though as bar and grocery store. So I'm wondering if like the room we were sitting in, was it split this way?
Probably.
Or was it storefront at the front and bar behind, which is probably more likely.
Where we're at was probably...
Yeah, so it was
bar.
probably store up front, and then you had to go through a door to get back to the bar because, you know, bars
That would
are...
make sense. The bar would be in the back.
Well,
Yeah.
and
that would
looking
make
at the
sense.
history of the place, like even before grocery store era, you wonder if maybe that bar area was like a drugstore bar, like
Or like soda
Get a
shop
soda
type
shop?
thing.
Oh,
right,
yeah.
right.
Yeah, I wonder
be.
if that was
Yeah.
picked
Oh,
up
and
from...
then also like the pharmacy, right? You go to the drugstore counter to
Yeah.
like get your fizzy
Yeah,
Ricky or whatever
your
the fuck they're
cocaine and
called.
laudanum.
Exactly, exactly. You know, it's 2
How
for
far
1.
back are we going?
Yeah, 2 for 1.
But yeah, I like the evolution of this place, though. It started out as just a store, then it went to a store and tavern, and then it just went to a tavern. So it kept changing until it finally reached its final form.
You should go back to the tavern store.
You zero
Right,
in.
yeah.
You zero in on the highest profit margin. That's just what it boils down to. It's
Probably.
good business sense.
Now, as far as the new owner, this Alex McPhail guy, so he was a former blacksmith and local boxing champion. And I guess he had a reputation as kind of like being someone kind of hot-headed with little tolerance for any shenanigans. So
Another common theme.
another common theme we see. So, you know, my impression is that back here, if you went in and started acting up and started, you know, causing reason to be ejected from the bar, he was happy to
Take care of ya.
Yeah, take care of things.
He was here for it.
He was here for it. That's right.
He lived for those moments, I'm
Probably
sure.
did.
Totally.
Probably did.
He's like,
Just, I dare you to act up. I
You're
just
not.
dare you.
You're not ordering enough. Get the fuck out.
Yeah. Yeah, we've come across a few of these places with some ornery...
Rough and tumble dudes.
Yeah, yeah. Now, there's lots of lore attached to this place, including that Viola Chihuly, late mother to the renowned glass artist Jael Chihuly, once worked as a bartender here. I don't know if that's true.
Dale Chihuly's mom.
Dale Chihuly's mom.
Mama Shahuli.
Mama
We don't hear
Chihuly.
much about Chihuly anymore. You guys notice that?
Well, I mean,
guess so.
I just had the privilege of paying almost $50 to go up into the Space Needle last week.
Money
And
well
Yikes.
spent.
it's actually cool now since they've done
Yeah.
the new observation deck that rotates. But yeah, I noticed when you look down, you can see right into the Chihuly Glass Garden, which was
Oh,
kind of
okay.
cool. So I haven't been. But Dale Chihuly is a alumni of Stadium High School.
Okay,
Yeah, he's
cool.
a Tacoma
He's
guy.
pseudo. He didn't graduate from there, but he was there during the construction of his other school. So they have his picture up. And
Does he still have his
our claim
operation
to
down
fame.
here in Tacoma? At one point, I remember, and this was a while ago, he had his like a glass studio here.
there's a museum here. The
Yeah, the
Museum of
Glass Museum here, the Museum of Glass.
Downtown, or-
Right. And that's when you guys were coming in on the 705, that big cone-shaped
Yeah.
Yeah.
type
It's
thing,
cool. We've been there a
that
couple
is
times.
the hot studio at the Museum of Glass. So
Okay.
that was started with Dale Chihuly.
Okay.
And so a lot of his pieces, like the bridge that goes from downtown to
Yeah.
the
Past
museum,
that,
that's
yeah.
the Dale Chihuly Museum or Bridge of Glass, and has a lot of his pieces there. So yeah, he's kind of like our little claim to fame.
Yeah.
He's ours. Can't take him away.
Now, I just remember in the 90s, you heard about him all the time. And I
Well,
remember,
yeah.
like, it was very trendy for a while to, like, go to glass blowing school.
Oh yeah.
A lot of people doing that. I remember I had this friend that was, lived, I think, over in Evergreen. And he lived, like, in a teepee out in the woods, but he was going to glass blowing school there at Evergreen. Living
Yes.
the dream, man.
Very
Living the
bohemian.
dream.
Yeah, very bohemian.
That checks with Evergreen.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
I think they still do that. Live in a
still
teepee
is.
and go to art school.
I had,
Olivia.
I had his coffee table book for a while. I probably still have it. It's just not on my coffee table anymore.
I
Yeah.
got one too.
Do you? Yeah.
I'm wondering if maybe Chihuly is one of the victims cancel culture a little bit. Like,
I wonder. He
Does
had
he have
he had some
scandal?
things. Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
He had
think
some
he had
things.
some
Harem
things.
kind of
Oh,
vibe
really?
going on.
Yeah,
Well,
he said
one of
some
the
stuff,
things
Did they have a
and
Me Too movement or
I
something?
think so.
Well, and one of the things is his art is done by students. Like he
doesn't
design
do
the
much
art's
anymore,
really done by
right?
other people.
Yeah, and he just puts his name on it. Yeah.
I mean, he has the facilities and the equipment and
Yeah.
the teaching, but
Yeah.
the artwork is not necessarily his.
But he gets all the acclaim for
Yeah,
it.
yep. And the actual person blowing the glass does not.
Right.
So there's not two names on the piece? So nowhere?
I think that's
He just
the
knows
scandal.
himself. He's like, I actually did that.
Who's that artist that also does that people hate? What's his name? He does like paintings of like lighthouses and scenes like that.
Oh, Thomas Kincaid?
Thomas Kincaid,
Yes.
thank you.
The
Yeah.
painter of
Sorry.
light.
The painter of light,
Painter
that's
of
why.
light.
That never does his own painting,
No.
or at least according to
Right.
rumor.
And people paid thousands of dollars for his paintings.
Why?
And I'm gonna
We don't
guess.
know.
Well, investing in art, my parents did.
My
If
mom,
you
And I'm
can buy
pretty
it on
sure
a
there's-
cruise ship.
I'm pretty sure that investment was probably not what they thought it was going to be.
probably not. No, my mom got me one of his paintings on the Home Shopping Network.
Right there.
It was as
It was an
cheesy as you would
investment.
imagine. Yeah.
There.
Sound investment.
She didn't give you money for college, but she bought you
Yeah, right.
Thomas Kincaid.
Who knows how
You're
much
gonna
it's going to be
retire with
worth?
this thing someday. This is an
Right?
original.
There's
Yeah, she
a
was all
huge one
excited
above
about
my
it.
parents' fireplace currently.
Yeah.
With the little light, the painter of light.
Yeah.
I think probably one of the original kind of factory collaborative kind of artists was Warhol, right? And Warhol got a lot of flack sometimes too for his
That's
students
true.
producing
He's-
some of his
he
most
seemed
famous
different,
work. Right?
though. He didn't seem quite as egregious as like Thomas Kincaid.
Well, and then I think Warhol also embraced the whole idea too. He's like,
Right.
"Fuck yeah, man! That's why I call it the factory, right?" So,
Right,
yeah.
right.
He
That's
kind of
true.
really embraced it and stuff, but he kind of really set that whole tone in motion for
Yeah.
artist collaboratives like that.
How do we get on Kincaid?
Fucking
they're talking
Warhol.
about- yeah, I was like, is this now going to be the art discussion?
Like we
Like,
say,
can I talk about-
history experts. Hey,
No, we are not. Please
Like-
do not accuse us of that.
We're just talking about Tacoma.
like we say on our podcast over and over again. I digress. Back to the topic.
Lots of digression. Yes, yes. Anyway,
we
back to
Oh,
the Parkway.
Well, Frank Lloyd Wright.
What about him?
He was
Were you
also
just name
accused of
dropping?
being
Would you hang
sort
with
of
him last week?
factory farm artist who had everyone doing work, and he's
Yeah.
I like that design.
Oh, really?
That's mine.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay, continue.
Well, back to the Parkway. So it was also rumored that the Tacoma City Council used to have informal meetings here. They eventually had to
Informal.
stop because somebody, like...
Got stabbed.
No, somebody exposed them, and I think it got reported in the
yeah.
Tacoma
Or
News
Tacoma.
Tribune.
Somebody
and-
exposed themselves. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's Tacoma. That sounds about right. That
Yeah,
checks out.
That about checks out.
They were probably on the take from the mob anyway, so
Absolutely.
like, what does it
Yeah.
matter? They were
I think
probably
it was
meeting
during
with
the
mob.
50s, so
Yeah.
you're probably right.
Oh, they were.
Maybe
what
a
was the
manila
episode
envelope
that
or
you guys
two.
basically
Oh,
covered the
yeah.
whole Tacoma Vice
Mayhem
history.
and the mob. So I had been hoping that we could get into the mob when it was like during Prohibition, and that will be one we're gonna do. But
Cool.
this was the burning down of the Top of the Ocean restaurant, which was on
Yep.
Ruston Way, which led to this whole investigation. It sounds like I'm a journalist.
Yeah, you are.
Finding
gotten
out
cocky.
about this huge scandal that happened in the 70s where members of city council, but the Pierce County sheriff was the one who was the big guy that got caught. He was just taking bribes from the mob left and right
Yeah.
to shake down taverns and bars that the mob wanted protection money from.
Uh-huh.
So the
And-
bars pay the mob, and the mob pays the cops.
And the cops would go in and harass them or to pay the mob,
Yeah.
basically. So
Right.
If you're not
most of
paying
the,
up,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and there was a whole big thing, like all the topless taverns in town. If one came up that wasn't under mob protection, the mob would go and firebomb their homes or firebomb their location.
Yeah, sure.
And there was an assassination attempt of it was like a comptroller or something. No, he was the liquor board guy, just like a bureaucrat, right?
Hard to get on his back.
Yeah, they shot him with a shotgun and he lived.
Ooh.
So they were
this was
sending
crazy.
gentle reminders that payment was due,
Yes.
in other words.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, the main mob boss, I think it was Carleone. No, that's the Godfather. I can't remember. Cotone. It was Cotone. Vito Cotone. He firebombed his own house at one point
Why?
for the insurance money.
Oh, for the insurance
and
money.
also to make it look like his gang members weren't firebombing people. He's like, look, I'm a victim too.
Right.
Wow.
Smart.
Anyway, sorry, I digress
No,
again.
that's cool.
That's okay.
We're here
There's a lot
for
of
it.
That's
digression
what
on
we're
this
looking for.
podcast.
Yeah, that's the dirt. That's what we want.
That's podcast gold.
Yeah.
Gold, Jerry, gold. And with such a long and storied history, there are also a few crime stories attached to this place. So, cue the music. All right. Dateline 1973. The Parkway had reportedly become a little sketchy, and after the police started hearing stories about illegal gambling taking place here, they decided to pay a visit. And lo and behold, they found a whole bunch of illegal pull tabs, punch boards, and an active dice game in progress.
Oh, so
Dice
salacious.
game.
This is
And,
going to be one of those X-rated
my.
episodes.
Everybody drink. That's like the 4th episode we said punch board in a row.
Yeah.
Wait, explain a
Wow.
punch board. What's a punch board?
So a punch board, you don't see them anymore, but they used to be like a standard gambling thing that you would see in taverns and stuff. And basically it was a little board, usually cardboard, and it had little punch-out tabs, like kind of hollow tabs that you could punch through, usually covered with foil. And then depending what was underneath, you could possibly win prizes or, things like that,
okay.
money.
It's pretty genius because it forces you to buy a whole bunch of pull tabs at once. Essentially, what it is.
Okay.
Instead of pulling, you're punching
Yeah.
and stuff. But you gotta, you buy a few of them instead of this crazy shenanigans that we have now, where you buy an individual pull tab, right? Like,
Yeah, you would just poke through for the
so
different
yeah, you
punch-
gotta buy 50 or more, buddy.
Yeah.
That doesn't sound as much fun as pull tabs, though.
I know.
It's
Well-
the pull. It's the sitting there with your basket
Yeah.
of
I
pull
hate
tabs.
it.
Yeah.
I think that is
Cardboard
the evolution
cocaine.
of pull tabs. Somebody figured out, it's like, hey, it's more fun to pull than push.
Well, I think
Open
the
it up and
element
see.
about punch boards was you punched through. There was some
Okay.
kind of gambling satisfaction with that. you know.
Like bubble
Not-
wrap.
Yeah, like not knowing what's underneath.
Some
Element
of those,
surprise.
and you have these a couple pictures in your book. So, like, you punch through, and it was a salacious picture. It was a nude or half nude
So you
person.
won even if
under
you
the
didn't win.
whatever.
Yeah.
So you want to punch through? Ooh, it's exciting. To
Everyone was a winner.
Everybody's a winner.
Everybody's a winner.
Or if you're at the North Lake Tavern, you punch through and you win a shotgun. Those were prizes.
Yeah.
Sometimes they would have like prize on the wall, or it could be a bike
Oh, my
or a
gosh.
shotgun.
So if
Yeah.
you weren't in a
Yeah.
position to go start a bank account at the time where they would hand you a free gun, you could.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Just do
Best
a
thing.
punch one.
Next best thing.
So anyway, there was one bartender on duty on that fateful night, and he was arrested, brought to jail, and they closed the place. So that was in 73. In 1976, a 60-year-old woman was leaving the Parkway when a 23-year-old man grabbed her right out the front door, pulled her into the bushes where he attempted to rape her. Luckily, a group of patrons inside heard her screams. They came running out, pulled the guy off, beat his ass.
Vigilante justice,
called
baby.
the cops. The cops show up.
They also beat us.
They also beat his ass. And then they threw him in the cop car and brought him away.
That also sounds right about Tacoma.
Yeah, right. Well, this was the 70s when cops were still not afraid to use their billy clubs.
Yeah.
Nothing
Well-
was recorded. Nothing was on film.
And those cops were probably on the payroll
I'm
of
sure
Vito
they were.
Catone, and this
Yeah.
place was probably paying protection money
Protection.
to.
Probably.
I'm going to have to
That's-
look into that more now
Yeah,
and see if I can
yeah.
find a connection with Parkway.
Yeah.
I mean, there's probably not great records of all of the taverns that were paying protection money to the mob, because I don't know. Do you put that in your book?
No, you keep
Ledger.
that
It's
under the
definitely a
Right.
ledger.
Right.
Yeah, the ledgers that
Just
Haven't
do you report
digitized it yet. Haven't digitized
No?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, is that
Yeah.
something you report to the IRS as a business expense?
Right, it's a write-off.
Yeah.
You send it to
It
your,
probably is
your
now.
bookie to clean all that shit up.
Right.
Yeah.
Who's the mob accountant
But yeah, I
lawyer
wonder
from,
if there's any
up north
physical
Seattle
evidence
from
left
Daryl's
over
or
from
no?
those
The
days of Tacoma anywhere out there
it was
where you could
one of
look
the
it up.
files.
I got people I can ask.
Charlie
Yeah.
Files.
Find it.
yeah.
Now,
on
here's a
it.
doozy of a story. So, in 1979, there were a series of armed tavern robberies here in Tacoma, including one here at the Parkway. In all instances, the robberies were committed by one man, sometimes wearing a mask, sometimes not. Following the robbery here at the Parkway, the police interviewed a few customers, and one of them reported that the man's voice, who did the holdup, sounded just like another one of the regulars, a guy by the name of Joe Kindred. It was also reported that the getaway car was a dark-colored sedan, and when the police looked into it, this Joe Kindred guy also drove a car matching that description. So they decided to bring him down to the station, and they actually put him in a police lineup. And there were a few witnesses at a couple other taverns where he wasn't wearing a mask, where people actually saw who it was.
Like, oh yeah, it's that guy.
It's that guy right there. Well, this Thomas Kindred guy the whole time is loudly proclaiming his innocence. He's like, I swear it wasn't me. And they're like, yeah, buddy, whatever. You know, you just got identified. Someone identified your voice. You're the guy.
You got your car.
We got your car. Yeah, everything. So
You're cooked.
he was arrested, locked up, and charged with armed robbery, in which he was looking at 20 years in prison. The entire time, though, you know, he's loudly proclaiming his innocence, and he was locked up for a total of 7 weeks and was awaiting trial when finally he landed a lucky break. So what happened is over in Yakima, a guy was arrested after having a shootout with the police over there, And during their investigation of this Yakima guy, it came out that he was actually the one who had committed all the Tacoma Tavern robberies. Somehow they were able to
Some
figure it out.
doppelganger.
Okay.
Well, that's what it turned out. So they forwarded all
my
the
God.
information to the Tacoma police, including this guy's picture. And when they got the picture, they're like, holy crap, these guys are like identical twins.
This poor guy.
And he had the same car.
Time served. Ready to get out of
Same
here.
car. You know what he looked like, though? I saw the picture in the newspaper. He looked like Burt Reynolds, right? This was 1979.
funny.
Smoking a
Reynolds
bandit.
doppelganger.
I think
Mustache.
everyone had the mustache.
Everybody
Whoa.
wanted to look
Yeah.
like Burt Reynolds.
Yeah.
And the getaway
Because
car.
he still had hair.
79 Trans Am.
I was going to say a Nova, but
Yeah.
same diff.
No, I remember my dad, I think it was probably 79, also went through a Burt Reynolds period. He had a mustache, he had a
Yeah,
Trans
yeah.
Am. Yeah, and I thought that was so cool, driving around a Trans Am.
My dad wanted to, but he was bald at that time, so it's harder to do the Burt Reynolds.
Then
Well,
he
he
had
had
to-
the mustache and the sideburns, though.
Yeah.
But
If you're bald, then you definitely have to get the T-tops.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a famous incident, and Shea, I'm going to have you help me out with this. So some lady, I think it was in the 90s, decided to drive repeatedly in and out of the front of this place. Do you guys know anything about the story?
I didn't look into it more because I thought you were going to this. I thought it was the 80s that somebody drove a truck through the front of the tavern, and so that's why there's a brick wall in there. But that's honestly as much as I know.
Okay.
What I know of it is
You have
I
something?
accidentally was here just one night with my husband for dinner where they were hosting an impromptu wedding. And the wedding host was actually the tour guide of Pretty Gritty Tours.
Are we going to mention him in every single podcast we're on? Chris?
Or stalkers.
From Pretty Gritty Tours.
But he was actually officiating the wedding, and
future
he
sponsors.
included that as part of their wedding stuff. Was that wall is there because of that? That's literally all I
okay.
know.
Yeah. Well, according to the story, she did it repeatedly, like,
Yeah.
smash in, back up.
I don't have any contribution to this conversation except that I didn't know any about this until coming in, but there is a plaque on the wall just outside the other side of the door with information about this event. It's so famous to the bar, right?
Wow. Okay.
So I'll read you the plaque. So there's a picture of this place just wrecked. Like the whole front
fucked
of
it
the
up pretty
building
good,
is
huh?
just all messed in. The door's gone. It's a mess, right? And there's a little plaque below this pretty appalling picture. Just after 2 a.m. on Friday, October 8th, 1993, a disgruntled customer, we don't know who this is, right? Disgruntled customer rammed his pickup truck. Well, it says his pickup truck, but maybe they were lazy on the pronouns. We don't know. Pickup truck 6 or 7 times into the front of the Parkway Tavern, and I love how it is very specific. It says 6 or 7, but 6 or 7 still pretty specific. Giant pile of rubble, and you're like, yeah, it wasn't 5, it wasn't 8.
Nope, that was definitely 6 or 7.
6 or 7. The customer was arrested and charged with malicious mischief, which sounds like a
That's
pretty,
it?
yeah, that's a pretty wussy
Mostly
charge
malarkey.
for somebody who just totaled your car, right?
Clearly, the payoffs weren't happening anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Payoff's not happening anymore at that time.
Yeah.
Ray and Norma Siebold owned the Parkway Tavern at the time. Another interesting tidbit is if you zoom in on the picture of this completely destroyed front of the bar, there's a partially destroyed sign. This is, the Parkway Bar and Grill Tavern, just like the same marquee that is up there now. But also, there's another part of the sign that was destroyed that isn't there now, and you have to read it backwards. Ray's Parkway Bar and Tavern.
Parkway.
So
That's the guy that the boxer probably.
Perhaps, yeah. And so apparently there was a period of time when it was Ray's Parkway, and now it's just Parkway.
Interesting.
Due to somebody 6 or 7 times ramming their pickup truck.
But not 8.
No, but
Sorry,
does it say
Ray. Not 5.
why she did
Well, that's
it?
'cause
Was
it
she
didn't work anymore.
did a bartender working there just break
Does
up with her or
not
something?
say.
What was
Does
going
not
on?
say. I think we need to do some
Yeah,
more
she was probably cut
investigations.
off.
Let's see.
off.
Let's see if
Yeah.
any of our
Listeners.
anybody working here knows. this
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do. Well, that is a awesome segue.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's go ask.
We
Yeah,
are
I'll show
almost.
them.
We are almost
Yeah.
ready for round 2,
Oh,
even
yeah.
though we haven't gotten to what you're drinking yet, because I'm seeing a lot of empty glasses.
Well,
And we talked about
I'll
maybe.
still talk about what my first round was. If
Yeah?
that's cool. So, Lucky Envelope, my buddy Barry over at Lucky Envelope. I used to teach Pilates in their brewery. Barry is from our homebrew club, North Seattle Homebrewers. Go North Seattle Homebrewers. And I had his horchata stout, which was delicious. It was just like a cinnamon stout. I didn't really get the horchata part. It was mostly just a cinnamon. Fantastic. What'd you have? It was the Ilk Brewing collaboration with the
Podcast.
which I just forgot their name.
Yeah, Grit something. It wasn't Grit City. It was.
Something and Grain.
We'll have to look it up when we go out for round 2.
I'm sorry, guys.
Round 2.
Grit and Grain. Does that sound right? Anyways, it was a collab with them with the Peaks and Pints, which is the tap room over in Proctor.
Looks like a hazy thing. Is that there's a lagery thing, or is it?
It was more of a hazy. It was
Yeah.
an IPA.
Yep.
Sort of thing. Yeah. What about you guys?
I went Coca-Cola.
Classic.
Wow, that's
Free
got
of
to be a
cocaine?
first.
Yeah.
That has got to be a fucking first for you.
You're
So
drinking a
round
brew,
2
aren't
is
you?
that also going to be, or round 2 going to be something more exciting for you?
No, I think we'll step it up. Now that I've had one of their fantastic submarine sandwiches.
And their
I'd
fantastic
recommend
draft
food here.
Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, there is nothing like a draft
The
Coke.
tap list here is extensive.
It is actually.
Oh my
That's
God.
the hard
And-
part.
Yeah, we're gonna
It's a
get
wall's worth.
we're gonna get into that, but I think I need to go grab
Round
a
two.
beer. We're gonna bend the ear of the bartender, see if we can get more details about the 6 or 7 time ramming in 1995.
We need to hear about this, right?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so do we want to go ahead and then end this for round 2 and come
do a
back?
quick
Yeah,
pause.
let's do it.
All right.
Sound good.
Done deal.
Right on.
We'll be back. All right, we are back for round 2. So, did everybody get a refiller there? It looks like everyone did. Why don't you guys start and tell us what you guys got for round 2?
I have Georgetown's Gusto Crema. It is a coffee cream ale. Only 4.2%, so it's really crushable, but it is delicious. It's smooth, it's creamy, and it has a lot of coffee flavor. So if you like coffee and beer, it's the perfect combination.
Is there caffeine in there too? Are you getting kind of jacked like a speedball?
Does it seem like it? Am I talking
Kind of
faster?
cool if it is.
Settle down.
Are my eyeballs bulging yet?
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, this is one of my favorite like light beers to drink. I love coffee, and it just really it's kind of perfect because they say that if you want to be creative, you should drink a little beer, but then if you want to focus, you should drink a little coffee. So it's just in one glass.
Best of
The
both
best of
worlds.
2 worlds.
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest Speedball, we call it.
And
Perfect.
what do you have a
Things.
go-to beer that, like, you know, your beer that you'll always pick?
So if there's a Boundary Bay IPA on, that's a Bellingham brewery.
Yep.
Great Reuben sandwich, by the way. They make their own pastrami. They make their own rye bread. They make their own sauerkraut.
Yeah, my daughter went to
Love a
Weston,
good Reuben.
so I'm familiar
Okay,
with that.
yeah.
Yes.
Love Boundary Bay. The other go-to down here in the South Sound, out of Kent, is Airways Brewing, and their Jumbo Juice IPA is fucking fantastic.
Okay.
If you've ever had it, so those are kind of my 2 go-tos. And if you're at a bar where it's Columbia Distributing, then I will usually go with a Manny's or a Mac and Jack's.
Oh, classics.
Yeah.
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 Good standbys for sure. And what about you? It looks like you have I'm going to guess raspberry sour?
Yeah.
Am I close?
Can't remember the name of it.
It's something by Urban Family with raspberries.
Right, it's raspberry, boysenberry, and blueberry sour, and it's delicious and refreshing and not too sweet. Not sweet at all.
Good
really.
summer beer? Yeah.
Yep.
Nice. It looks like a little wine
Yeah.
wine cooler kind of.
It
I
looks like
don't-
a framboise.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
there
what
you
I
go.
thought
Yeah,
it was.
kind of
Yeah,
is
kind
like
of.
that.
Rosé.
Yeah.
A lambic.
Yep.
Not as sweet. It's very, very tart. It's more like a
It's more like a sour.
like
Yeah.
a Cabbage Patch Kid,
Like a Cabbage Patch Kid?
but without the sweet part.
Oh,
Oh,
gotcha.
the Garbage
okay.
Patch Kids
The sour ones?
candy.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
There is a sour that they named. I don't remember the
Patch
brewery.
Kids.
Maybe you guys remember. There's a brewery that named it Sour Patch Kids, but they can't distribute it or sell it under that
I
name
bet,
because
yeah.
of
I
whatever.
bet.
But you
Copyright,
can go
yeah.
to the brewery and get Sour Patch Kids ale. It's delicious.
I wonder if that was Great Notion.
It might have been. That sounds.
They really
but
play with their
I got it in
sours.
Seattle.
Well,
Great-
they have a Great Notion in Seattle. I don't
Do
know.
some research. But on the
Well,
Sour Patch
Mr.
Kids.
Rue, speaking of which, what are you drinking?
Well, you know, it's interesting the beers that you just talked about, because when we were at the bar ordering, talked about a little bit of kind of some trends that we're in the middle of in the beer drinking world, and these are perfect examples, right? Like some of the kind of IPA evolved, right? You've got a coffee IPA, pale / kind of hybrid, super
Hazy.
whatever, that's amazing and delicious. And there's all sorts of different kind of evolutions of IPAs. And we were talking about like dark IPAs and black IPAs and different kind of fruity IPAs and double, all this kind of crazy stuff. Great example of that. And then the other big trend that we're smack dab in the middle of is sours, right?
Which I don't understand.
I'm not a sour fan either. I'm with you, but each their own. Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Yeah. Sorry. A trigger warning
No,
here
it's
with
okay.
sour
I don't care what
beers.
other
Yeah,
people
no.
drink. I just know I'm not going to order it.
No, it's good, and we've talked numerous times
You
about it.
do
It's
you,
like
is Brad's
an
policy.
acquired
That's
taste.
right.
If you
I
like a
love
glass
'em, you
full
love
of
'em.
fruity vomit, that's up to you. Oh, dang.
Those are fighting words,
I'm going
huh?
to try and finish
Yeah.
this.
Wow. Okay. 2
I'm gonna
votes
regurgitate
for,
my-
2 or 3 votes against. It's the jury's still out on that one. I love them.
Sorry, I'm an
all
asshole.
for it. But
Shay
you're,
runs everything. That's part of our podcast.
Sorry, we cut
It's
you off.
actually been renamed Shea Runs Everything. That's
nice.
But then I got
That's what you gotta
sued
pay for.
by Adam Hanover of Adam Ruins Everything. So
So we know him. We do a collab with him every month. So it's good. We'll get it fixed. Well, another theme that we were talking about at the bar, placing our orders for round 2, was just the fact that we're looking at a tap list of over 30 beers on tap, which
Huge tap
for
list, huge.
us and the dive bar crew is an all-time record by far. I think the
hands
second
down,
closest
yeah.
was maybe 15 or 12. A couple of years ago, right? So, but you get a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of choice anxiety and deer in the headlights when you're looking at a list like that, because this is 30 incredible micro local crafts, right? This isn't just Budweiser and Miller and Coors and like, oh, which lager do I want to choose from? It's like, no, right? We got an extensive list of some amazing brews on tap, and it was very hard to choose.
Well,
very hard.
The thing that I was actually surprised about their tap list is a lot of bars around here at this time, because it is the height of summer, you can get something pale, you can get something lager, you can get something IPA. You can't hardly around town get a stout or anything that's
a little falling out of fashion,
that's darker. Well, it's just because summer.
Yeah, those are more winter beers.
So so the fact that the first 4 beers on this tap list are stouts, I was I was thrilled, because sometimes you just want a dark beer.
Including, don't they have one on cask? Or were my eyes deceiving me?
Maybe I didn't get that far down.
They
I
have a
got
machine
lost.
house.
Oh,
Yep,
okay.
for sure. You're absolutely right. And I ended up with the Stone, to your point, I ended up Stone Cocovesa, which
you
is
did? Oh,
an
it's so
incredible beer. Had it on draft many times, but rarely at a dive and during the summer, right?
Yeah.
So to your point, like to see something like that on tap here in the middle of summer.
Not a
like,
Pacific
oh, yeah.
Northwest beer, but we will forgive you because they are a great brewery.
Yeah.
they're close enough. Can we consider it Northern California? But yeah, I
Stone
get it.
is San Diego.
Oh, that's right.
That's
All right.
nowhere
Yeah.
near.
Okay. All right.
No
And they are
PMW.
they have sold out.
We can call it a Mexican beer.
But I think
More likely than a
Well, there's another trend too, like Mexican style beers, like is Stone,
Yeah.
but that's usually with the lighter style beers, right? But we also have some awesome, like you said, porters and stouts with the Mexican style, with the Mexican chocolate and the cinnamon, and you mentioned the horchata and stuff like that. It goes great in a dark beer. Stone Cocovesa, I know, non-Pacific Northwest, but it's like a big mouthful of unsweetened chocolate and cinnamon with just some amazing like Mexican lager hints like thrown in there. It's just absolutely incredible.
so. We have a local brewery not far from where Jody and I live in Puyallup called Powerhouse Brewing, and it's a really cool location. First off, it's an old powerhouse, so it's this big tall brick building, and they have these little conduits that go up the wall, and every 15 minutes sparks will go between them.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
Yeah.
It's
Like on purpose, or
it's like a psh, like the sound. It's very cool. But for Brew 5-3 a couple of years ago, which is a festival that's coming up for Tacoma Beer Week on August 10th, they did a Mexican hot chocolate stout. That
sounds good.
was
sold.
probably
That
the
sounds
best
good.
stout I've ever had in my life. Unfortunately, they only made it for the beer festival.
Oh, I
have
hate
never
that.
brought it back.
I hate that.
Every time I go in there, I ask the brewer, "Are you gonna bring it back?" And he's like, "Nope."
That's exactly why you've got to go to these beer festivals, right? Because if there is a limited release that
it's
you're
a one and
only going to
done.
get there,
Yeah.
it's like,
No, then you just want something you can't ever have again.
And that's how I feel.
that's how they keep you coming back.
There's
to the
a,
beer
there's a
festivals.
winery around here, Brown Winery, that had made a special Do Epic Shit red wine blend, and I loved it, and I love the name, and you cannot get it anymore. It's out.
Can't do epic shit no more.
Can't do no epic shit anymore. They're stifling me.
Those days are long gone.
Yeah,
huh?
and I wish I'd never had it.
That's right.
Knew nothing about it.
It's
not
left you leaving bitter and resentful,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I don't know
Yeah.
why you love this stuff.
It's not
Kidding.
better to have loved and lost than never
No.
have loved at all when
that
it
is
comes
the
to
question.
beer, right?
Yeah.
Very well said.
Yeah.
Very well said. Lou Dog, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking a Mirage.
Imperial?
Oh no, it's had the strangest name. I picked it out the same way you might pick out a record at a record store if you didn't know what you wanted.
Or wine
cool-
for me
cool
by
ass
the
cover?
label and the name.
Right.
Yeah,
Where's the
exactly.
cover?
Yeah, where's the
That's
picture?
exactly-
It's called Mirage Incinerates. It's a metal band.
Incinerates. And a metal band.
What type
So
of beer is
it's
it?
It does sound like a metal band.
It's a crisp day drinking IPA.
Okay.
But is it metal?
What,
Nice
what is it?
description.
Day drinking because it's light, or because it's light on
Yeah, what's the
alcohol?
It
ABV?
is a 6.5, but it tastes.
Well, that's not a
lot
session.
lighter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, you don't need to
goes
go-
down easy.
Goes down
Yeah.
None of that.
No.
That's why I don't
Very
drink
well
IPAs
balanced.
when I'm recording because it's always like. Sorry.
Oh,
Have fun. Have fun editing all those mouth sounds out.
Well, and all these different beers that we're talking about, this is part of the Parkway's history because they were one of the first
Yeah.
Tacoma beers to embrace the craft beer movement when it first came out.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the taverns and stuff were keeping with the Millers and the Coors and the traditional stuff you find at dive
None
bars.
of which is
These
actually
guys-
on draft.
No, none of
right?
that.
So
Right.
that's gonna turn off a certain subset of the audience, right? Like we get that, and they get that.
Maybe.
Not
maybe.
a lot of this is in your local 7-Eleven.
They do
No.
have a
Damn
lager, but it is a Japanese rice lager. So,
Little
So
esoteric.
only
Little
Shay
esoteric.
wants it.
oh no, I think that millions of Japanese people will.
Be here at the Parkway.
Thanks, Dad.
Well, and the cool thing about Parkway is they embrace that part of
Inside
history, and they wear it on their sleeve. When you go up to the front of the bar, they have this huge ceiling display showing all their tap handles from going
Yeah.
back decades, I assume. Like
Yeah.
you see the early craft beers
And
up
they're
there,
literally
the
all
pyramids.
there. They're
Yeah,
arranged
yeah.
by color
Yeah.
and shape.
Yeah.
It's different sections, but every inch of the giant roof in this place is covered with hundreds of tap handles.
It's an impressive display. It's
yeah,
very
the-
cool.
The beer list and the beer memorabilia
Yeah.
here is epic, right? And I'm hoping Bob can like edit in some like extraneous reverb and echo in that epic.
Sure.
It's definitely something to talk
Let's
about.
make his job harder.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing I love, speaking about the displays, is all the old Heidelberg beer stuff.
Yes.
Because Heidelberg beer, a lot of people in
Yes.
Seattle aren't aware of this, but Heidelberg was kind of the Rainier of Tacoma.
Yes.
That was the beer that you would drink if you were in Tacoma for decades.
The working man's beer.
Yeah, and they have all these just incredible old Heidelberg signs and
My grandpa
advertising stuff
was a
up front.
farmer in Montana, and he would come over here, and that's what he wanted. He
Heidelberg.
did not drink beer. He was not a drinker, at least not in my lifetime. Sounds like he was before me. But
Back in the day, that's
back
what
in the day, he would come over here, and that's what he wanted.
Heidelberg.
Well, and it's back
Give me a
now.
Heidelberg.
Yeah, because he couldn't get it over there.
Or as a Heidi, as they used to call it.
Slide me a Heidi.
Or a Berg. I don't know. I just made that up.
Sounds good. Give
me a bird.
We'll go with
Roll
that.
with
Yeah,
it. What
Heidi
you
got
talking
him
about?
arrested, so he went over to Berg.
That would probably get you beat up here, right? The cops would come, the mafia would show up, kick your ass.
What are you drinking?
All right, well, so why don't we get into where we at? Because we're not in our usual Seattle locale tonight. We're in Tacoma.
You're out of bounds. Yeah.
And that's where our guests are going to come in because they do know a few things about Tacoma. So, Shay,
One or two things, yeah.
you know a couple things. So,
So-
do you want to go over the neighborhood history here? Give us some
Yeah.
bullet points.
Lay of the land, some color of the town.
Yeah.
Well,
Can I preface first? Shay and I both were not Tacoma people before. Like she lived up in the Normandy Park area.
I've stopped Tacoma a lot,
Capitol Hill, and you know I'm a suburb person. Farther I get from a city, but
wanna
we
shout out that
during
suburb?
this. Well, I'm from Lake Tapps area, Bonnie Lake.
there we
area.
go. Shout out.
But that's, I mean, if I
Summer.
had my way, it'd be more like nowhere. But we have really in this process gone, oh my gosh, I am a Tacoma person. I love this city, and the more we get to know it, the more we love it. And that's why you'll hear more and more of it. We didn't start out with Tacoma being our highlight, but you'll hear so much of it in our podcast because the deeper we dive, the more we love this city.
It resonates
This has
with
some
you.
cool history here for sure.
Right. We
we
did
should
not
trademark
start
that.
out that way, but
The
we are
deeper
now
dive.
You've developed a passion for the local
cheerleaders for
history.
Tacoma.
Have you been investigating the real estate scene? Maybe move your ass down here.
Well, I am a real estate appraiser, so
Okay.
I'm pretty familiar with the real estate scene. Tacoma definitely has its neighborhoods that are better to live in and more expensive. So like North Tacoma, oh God, if I could live there, I would in the drop of a hat. It is gorgeous. The houses are old and historic. The views are mind-boggling. But you can't touch anything under like 1.3 million, and I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys sign up for our Patreon.
Right, yeah.
Some sponsors.
Yeah.
Remember, it's material too hot for Spotify.
Help move us to Tacoma.
Right?
Yeah.
My brother lived here for several years. In fact, when I first entered the workforce, it was like my third job I ever had. I was 17 years old. I was living in Enumclaw at the time, and I started work for a temp agency. And one of the jobs they sent me to was in downtown Tacoma at this place called Bratware, and they custom made uniforms for K-9 units and SWAT teams.
Oh, wow.
And so I was a filing
Sounds
clerk.
like a fun job.
Like sailor, cowboy, those kind of costumes?
No, they custom
Big
made
tactical, buddy.
uniforms. I was like, huh?
It's not the village people.
Mailman.
They made the SWAT team uniforms. I was just a filing clerk, but I would take the bus in at 17 years old from Enumclaw to Tacoma, and my brother was living here. So that was really my first taste of exploring Tacoma. And even at that time, I could tell there was something special about Tacoma. So, yeah. And so I really appreciate the fact that you guys made the journey down here. I know that for a lot of Seattleites, Tacoma is basically the other side of hell.
And we actually took the bus.
Oh, boy.
No,
Did you
no,
really?
we
We took an Uber.
We did not.
I was like,
no.
where?
How much
Where
crack,
to?
How much crack did you get on the way?
It took 4.5 hours.
And you made it here with your podcast equipment?
But it only cost me
Right?
$1.50.
That's right.
So I know you guys like places with interesting history, and I'm going to risk being canceled and called a pathetic suburbanite.
Uh-oh.
True story. I have been called that online.
Okay.
A suburbanite?
Harsh.
A pathetic
suburbanite.
When I suggested that somebody
Okay.
visiting maybe explore outside
The
of
suburbanite
Seattle.
thing is a total lie. Just kidding. You're not pathetic.
Oh, I got that.
So I'm going to make this bold statement. Tacoma is more interesting than Seattle.
Fighting words.
And that concludes our podcast. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for our guests.
Hear me out.
Shay is
Hear
very
me out.
competitive.
Okay.
Jay, the shit
So
starter.
brace yourself.
All right. So first off, let's go back in time. Tacoma beat Seattle out for the railway terminus.
That's right.
This is true. Yeah.
That's right.
So-
it was actually the first city, but while Seattle was still
Yeah.
dicking around.
Seattle was still dicking around with brothels and gambling halls.
Box
Yeah,
houses.
we were having,
They were having a lot more fun.
We
Yeah.
were having fun while Tacoma's like, yeah, we need to get some business done.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
We had gold rush. That was our-
We have money to make while you're fucking around up there.
So in 1873, the Northern Pacific Railway chose Tacoma to win the prize of its western terminus. And this established the City of Destiny, as it was called, which is a way cooler name than the Emerald City. I
Debatable.
think.
I don't know.
Debatable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or as Brad's book calls it, the Queen City. I'm
Queen
sorry,
City,
Destiny
yeah.
City.
City.
Yeah,
City
I-
of Destiny. Much
I don't
better.
know. There's some controversial takes here in this episode.
Anything with destination in it is kind of cool, though.
No,
It does have a nice
cool.
ring to it. I'll give you that. Yeah.
It's got a good ring to it.
So we might not be Washington's largest city, but we make up for it in grit. We are Washington's third largest city.
Yeah, that's true. Tacoma is the filthiest and stinkiest and smelliest town.
Oh, are we
And-
talking about the aroma? We're going to bring that up?
Right.
No, I didn't bring it up. I'm just saying you're right. It's the grittiness is palpable.
some people say, not me, but some people do
Palpable
say.
in terms of
allegedly.
makes my eyes hurt and my nasal
Hey, there
passages
is
flare
no
up.
aroma today.
I know, it's beautiful.
And
it's
you
a
know
beautiful
what?
day in Tacoma.
I-
The aroma's gone away,
Yeah.
I would say.
I would
Yeah.
say so
Looks
too.
good.
Compared to the 80s. when
Every
I-
once in a while, you
You get a whiff.
You get a
Yeah,
whiff.
since
Nothing
they-
like holding your nose like you used to when you hit down by 5.
Yeah.
Since
I'm
they-
from North Hope.
Yeah,
too.
since they closed the rendering plant in the port, it's
Well, it's the
improved.
paper.
The paper mills.
The paper
That
mills,
was
yeah.
demanding.
there
I like
was-
a rendering plant better, though. It's like, what the hell happens in a rendering plant? You
Nothing
don't wanna
good.
know.
Oh, my
The
husband.
copper smelter was
Glue
the
factory. You know.
Yes, which we will
Yep.
get to. So I'm going to give you a couple of interesting Tacoma facts that I think make it more interesting than Seattle. Okay, so first off, did you know that the origin of the Men in Black myth started right here in
Yes.
Tacoma?
Ew, yeah.
You mean the little green men managers?
No.
Yeah, Men in
Managers?
Black.
Yeah,
Like
dudes in
the
suits with
investigators.
shades and
Will Smith.
Yeah, the guys in suits with the
Tommy
dark
Lee Jones?
sunglasses.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the scoop there?
That started right here. So in 1947, hold on, I told this whole story and now I've
It's
just
a cool
forgotten
story.
it.
Yeah.
So many stories though.
So in June of 1947, a man named Harold Dahl was out on his boat in the Puget Sound off of Maury Island, so just north of the tip of Tacoma. And he was out collecting logs that had gotten away from the log jams that were on their way to Tacoma's pulp mills. So that was, he had a contract. to do
runaway
that.
logs.
Yeah, they would run away. He'd collect them. He'd sell them back to the pulp mills. When all of a sudden, 6 donut-shaped objects appeared in the sky above his boat. One of them started raining metal slag over his boat, striking his son on the arm and injuring him, and striking his dog, Sparky, and killing him.
Oh,
Sparky got
See, no one
Sparky.
cares about his
Sparky.
son
I know.
every time we tell this story.
But the dog.
His
The
son was
dog
fine.
elicits so much emotion.
Yeah.
But at least he died for an awesome story.
Well, they
Or so
decided
they
to
say.
give him a burial at sea, so nobody really knows what happened to him.
A true Viking.
The truth,
Right.
The truth is when it goes down to the bottom of the sea with Sparky.
Right.
Exactly.
Wow.
Sparky and the Slag evidence is gone.
Great band,
Right.
Sparky and the Slugs.
He's on our page.
I know.
We have a lot of band names.
Like Dick's in the Attic?
Yeah, Dick's
that's,
in the Attic
That's
is a whole
Stadium
nother-
High. There's a lot of Dick
if you
drawings
go on
in
the
the
tour,
attic.
that's what the students get to go up there before they graduate and leave their message. And
Shout
it's
out to
a lot
Shitty
of
Gritty
penises
Tours.
up there.
So she actually coined it, Dick's in the Attic.
Dicks,
Also Soggy
Dicks in
Bricks.
the attic.
Soggy Bricks is what they made Montana State Prison out of. It's like, what is a soggy brick? I don't know.
It's bad. Nice
Not good, that's all
I
onomatopoeia
we
don't
there.
know.
want my house built out of a soggy brick.
That's what we know.
What the hell were we talking
That's
about?
in the Bible. Don't build your house on a soggy brick. So, like we said, Harold's dog was killed. They beached their boat on a beach, like you do. To escape the ships, ran away until the slag stopped raining down. Then they go back to the dock in Tacoma, and he tells his boss, Fred Chrisman, about this incident.
Fred, you'll never believe it.
Well, we could get into we're not going to make
He's
this a
he's a whole
2-hour long
other story.
podcast. Fred
Oh.
Chrisman is a whole other story.
Fred's like, yeah, you're fired.
Well,
No more drinking on the job.
Fred said,
Fred probably blabbed about it because the next day, a man in a black suit showed up at Harold's door and said that if you talk about this incident, your family is going to be in trouble.
Don't talk about
Okay.
Sparky no more.
So that is the first recorded incident of a sighting of men in black.
Wow.
Now, later, the newly formed Air Force sent 2 investigators out to talk to these 2 guys because this was getting around that there was some sort of UFO
UFOs.
incident. So these 2 Air Force officers came into Tacoma and they were going to meet these guys at the
At the Parkway.
No, that was the department store.
Oh.
The hotel.
sorry, I thought we were.
I can't remember the name of the hotel. Starts with a W. Doesn't matter. Anyway, but they didn't want to show up to this interview wearing their Air Force uniforms because they didn't want to give any.
They didn't want people to have any legitimacy
Yeah,
to the
legitimacy.
story.
They didn't want to
and
give
if, And if the
legitimacy.
federal government showed up to investigate it, there would be legitimacy to it.
So they stopped at the Woolworths in Tacoma to buy the
Shout out to
cheapest.
Woolworths.
Right. To buy the cheapest clothes they could at the time, which as a man in the late 40s, you could buy nothing other than a suit. And so they bought black suits. So they show up to the interview in black suits. So again, men in black.
There's a festival every year for this.
Oh, that's
we were at.
deep.
Now,
That goes real
The
deep.
Woolworths conspiracy tie-in.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm sure they probably are a shill for government.
Suited and booted by
They're
wolves.
in on it too, for sure.
Now, here's a really interesting part of the story that, of course, just feeds into the conspiracy, is that these two investigators got on a plane back at McCord Air Force Base to go back to their base in California, and about 25 minutes later, their plane crashed, killing the two investigators, and they had brought from this interview a box of supposed the quote-unquote metal slag that they had collected.
And the corpse of Sparky.
Well, no, he was buried at sea.
Yeah, like a Viking.
Like, divers
room.
and stuff. And
So the metal slag was never found again.
They
We
backdoored
have,
the back
we have an
door.
entire episode on this.
Now, was
event.
that
that's
has that
very
been confirmed
interesting.
about like the aircraft crash and that they
Yes.
had that stuff
That
on there?
has
That's
been
all
confirmed.
confirmed.
Well,
Offboarding.
the
That is
metal
crazy.
slag,
Metal slag just came
It's all
from
been
a copper
investigated.
smelting plant down the road.
I'm pointing at you because
That's probably what it was. It was
Yeah.
some shrapnel coming off.
that is what most people believe that don't believe in the conspiracy.
Okay.
They got
That it was
easy.
just you can still find metal slag on the beaches around the Puget Sound from the lead and copper smelters that were here.
Well, and part of the thing that supports that story, or at least is in conjunction with it, is the fact that the first UFO sightings ever were right in these neck of the woods.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
Mount Rainier.
that was Kenneth Arnold
Yeah.
just before this, just a couple months before this. And also Kenneth
Right.
Arnold was part of this investigation about the Maury Island incident, which I think people thought gave it more legitimacy because Kenneth Arnold, a lot of people believed him because for some reason they wouldn't think that he would make it up. He just didn't know what these objects were. So they were definitely alien.
This is where they term the coin flying saucer.
Yeah, and it was a kind of an accident.
Once
So,
again,
right here.
Everything comes from the Northwest.
Yes, absolutely.
And it always be tied back.
Well, you know, we're kind of famous for saying everything comes from Seattle, and Seattle invented everything. But you know, we could throw Tacoma.
We can
in there.
expand
We could throw
the end,
Tacoma a bone every once
It's
in a while.
Tacoma Beer Week. We're gonna
Everything comes from Seattle. or
Brew
sometimes
53.
Tacoma.
That's great. Great name.
Pacific Northwest.
Yes.
Well, I
P&O.
think because most people only know about Seattle, so if anything happened in the Pacific Northwest, it had to have happened in Seattle,
Seattle.
because there's
That's
no
right.
other cities in Seattle,
right.
according to the rest of the world.
And again, to our listeners, if you don't know where Tacoma is, you will have to Google it.
Well, you can Google rainy day rabbit holes and
Oh,
you'll find
hey
it.
now.
That's right.
Exactly.
Completely.
Yes.
Now you said
Completely
Shameless
Tacoma is
plug.
the
understandable.
third largest in the
Yes,
state.
it's Seattle, and I think there's something
Is it
like
Spokane?
720,000, and then Spokane is only slightly above Seattle by a couple thousand, or Tacoma by a couple thousand.
Okay.
So we're not far
Compton.
off.
Oh, competition's getting fierce.
Right, I was just thinking, it's time to breed. I'm just kidding.
I was gonna say steal some people from,
kidding.
but you know, however you want to deal with your
We're-
problems, it's like
It's not happening over here.
that is not the kind of collab we were talking about. But you know,
got
we're
my
open,
part.
we're open to
making-
ideas.
We don't have uteruses. We can't do anything about this. Sorry.
That's
TMI.
got,
Just kidding.
that has got to be a whole other episode.
Yeah.
The aliens stole them.
I was just gonna say clearly,
It's all coming together.
Yes.
the Men in Black are the
Right.
fathers of your children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then took our uterus.
Exactly.
Oh my God.
So speaking of slag, which we were,
That's right.
Our
Falling
cop-
from the sky from
I-
little donuts.
pivot.
Yeah.
Our copper and lead smelters spilled out industrial slag into the bay and onto the beaches. So Frank Herbert, the author of Dune, grew up in Tacoma.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he spent his childhood in a rowboat rowing around Commencement Bay, Foss Waterway, and saw these slag dumps on the beaches, which are kind of like these shiny things. And he saw these smelting towers in the skyline, spewing smoke. And so this was his inspiration for parts of the landscape of Dune.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
And he saw Sparky floating on the water.
That's sort of what
And he was
we've
like,
done.
Sparky kind of looks like a giant worm.
It's
Right.
an evil corporation that's coming to a planet. And
It was the
sucking
slag.
all its
Yes.
natural resources so that, to the
Exactly.
point that they're living
Yep.
underground. And
Everything comes from Seattle except sometimes from Tacoma.
Yeah.
That's right.
Seattle adjacent.
Seattle adjacent, yes.
In Point Defiance Park, which is a beautiful park
Yeah,
here in
shout out to
Tacoma.
Point Defiance, big time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There is a dune peninsula,
Oh,
and
nice.
there is a sandworm sculpture. So it is
Oh, is it
all
cool?
for inspired by Frank
Almost like
Kerr.
it's a conspiracy, a Tacoma conspiracy.
Have you been listening to Fred Chrisman's show again? Oh, see, you don't know about Fred Chrisman.
You
You're
need
gonna have
to-
to
you need
listen
to
to
look
our
this fella up.
episode.
You got to
I
hip
listened to
us.
that episode, it's a
Softballs
good
here.
one.
So here's another thing that makes Tacoma cooler than Seattle.
Ooh.
We have a way cooler bridge than any of your fucking bridges.
West Seattle Bridge is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Was that the one that flew down?
Then we'll give you that
Is it
one. We'll give you that one. Yeah.
Yes.
Bridges are fucking cooler. We'll give you that one.
Yeah.
We have the Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
Oh, Galloping Gertie.
Do you have any? I'm sorry. Do you have any floating point bridges in Tacoma?
Why do
there
we
any of
need a
those?
floating
Are there any
bridge?
floating point bridges?
We have a-
Are there any world famous bridges here?
That
in
Galloping
Are there
Gertie.
any-
charges you, what,
Galloping
is it
Gertie's
$10 to go across now?
Galloped your
Is it,
way away.
I'm sorry. Is it in the Guinness Book of World Records?
Well, how
Remind
much
me.
is the Narrows toll?
I'm sorry?
The Narrows toll. There's a toll on the Narrows.
I feel like
There
they're-
is, but only one way.
Only one way.
That's right.
Oh, so
I just
Tacoma
went there.
wins because they're
I just came back a week ago.
Yeah.
When was it?
It is gorgeous, this bridge, by the way.
No,
So if
I
you
know.
haven't seen
It
it,
is. It is gorgeous.
Even get a little,
Yep. Definitely.
disjointed on it. It kind of feels like it could give still. I don't know. Maybe it's just like
I've ridden my bike over it.
Well, just some of
I've
the
ridden a bike
smaller-
over it. I
oh, like
loved it. It was amazing.
How long does that
Yeah.
take, give or take, to ride a bike over?
Well, not very long to
Yeah.
ride over the bridge.
That's
I walked
cool.
over it too.
Yeah, I rode it
Yeah.
all day. I was training for the Seattle to Portland, so
Oh,
I was
the
on my
STP.
5th hour.
Nice.
when I rode over it, but it was beautiful.
Cool.
Yeah.
also, underneath the Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
You have trolls?
No, better.
Oh, you don't have trolls. Oh,
They're a form of
sucks
trolls.
to be
better.
you.
I'm sorry. We have giant octopuses.
Yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Like Kraken?
Can you say that about Seattle? No.
Kraken? Do we have Kraken?
No, you
Yeah, I can.
You have a hockey team. We have the actual Kraken.
Yeah, and
Oh,
you know what?
well, okay,
you might have a troll,
Yeah.
but also the only other thing I could think about that you have under a bridge is a human leg in a plastic bag. So, suck on that.
She's got you there.
Yeah. You want to talk grit, baby? Human leg in a plastic bag.
We need to start like giving points to
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh,
yeah.
that's gritty. That's five gritty points right
each
there.
of these fighters for their cities.
So, can I tell you a little
Sketchy as
bit more
fuck?
about
Yeah,
the
that's 7
Narrows?
points.
Are you okay if we
Please
do a
do.
little history?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
So now, according to legend, the largest octopus in the world lives below the Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
We also
which
have an episode on this.
spans- Yeah, we do. This is actually straight from my episode, by the way.
Nice.
Copy and paste. Thank
Good
you very
plug,
much.
good plug.
Which spans a portion of the Puget Sound between Tacoma and Gig Harbor, which Brad and I have
Harbor.
both lived in.
Yes, we have.
Thank you very
Yeah.
much. Deep in the murky waters below the
Tacoma Narrows Bridge.
The reveal.
current Tacoma Narrows Bridge. Sorry.
The suspense is killing me, Shay. Come on.
We're on the edge of our seat. What happened?
No, I was just trying to make a pause so that you could edit out the sound of me turning the page. That's all that was. I'm an editor. Okay. So underneath the murky waters of the current Tacoma Narrows Bridge is the remains of an ill-fated bridge known as Galloping Gertie. This original Tacoma Narrows Bridge opened on July 1st, 1940, after almost 2 years of construction. Almost immediately from the time the deck was built, the bridge would move vertically in windy conditions, hence the nickname Galloping Gertie. Costing $6.4 million to construct in 1940.
Jeez.
At the time, it was the third longest suspension bridge in the world. As planners underestimated traffic volumes on the bridge, it was built with only 2 lanes and was only 39 feet wide. It was very narrow in comparison to its long length of 2,800 feet. And this was its undoing. Don't I get a bump, bump, bump?
Bum, 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 bum. I was enthralled. I was listening. I was waiting. I forgot to make
it's
the
your job.
sound.
We'll get it in post. We'll get it in post. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like I haven't heard it before.
Right? On November 7th, 1940, just a few months after opening to the public, a 40-mile-per-hour wind caused the bridge to hump and buckle until it finally collapsed into the Narrows.
Bum, bum, bum.
No, just emphasis there. 40 miles per hour. That's a light breeze. That's like a
Right. No, it was
This is
not.
This is not like a fucking hurricane.
Yeah, there was
or
no
tornado.
storm. There was no storm.
This was like a light breeze caused this bridge to
Very expensive bridge.
go apeshit.
It was a minor engineering oversight.
Right.
Catastrophe. Chalk it up to that.
Oh, you wanted to withstand light breezes? No, that's going to be a lot more engineering.
Exactly. It'll be 5 more years and $3 billion more. Thank you.
Oh, back in $3 billion at that time.
Well, I'm saying that's just how
You're okay.
DOT and
I was going to say I don't remember
Washington
this part
State
of the
works.
story.
Well,
yes.
Translated to $2024.
I mean, there is
Yeah,
a
that's
there
right.
is a joke around here about the Tacoma Dome I-5 reconstruction that is just never going to end.
Oh, if
it's just
you
never
were-
going to end.
Oh, it's been going for so long.
Yes, it's
God.
a joke that we.
It's the
talk
joke
about.
is that
And they
people
have to
will
keep
come
doing
back
it.
from the future and report that it is still under construction.
Wait, can we? Someone at work told me it's done.
I think it. I was just thinking in my head. I didn't see anything
Oh,
on
that
the way
is-
here.
What?
Yeah, I was
No,
just
it's
thinking that.
actually
For
done.
now.
I moved to
Like,
town
officially.
in 1995, and they were working on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's just now.
I think it is.
Just now.
It is finished.
It's only
yeah.
30 years.
Yeah. We all need to
quite-
drink to that. Holy
Yeah.
shit.
Cheers.
I know.
Yeah.
Salud.
Yeah.
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 There
To
we
the
go.
next phase.
There's some
That's
big-ass
nice.
construction project
Have
finally
they-
done after 25 years.
Yeah, but now it's the light rail, so there's always something.
on to the next.
Yeah.
Oh, and that is opening up in my hood in 2 weeks.
Oh,
So we'll
lucky.
drink to that? Oh, yeah.
We got 2 more years to wait for it to come to Tacoma. Actually,
Oh,
Federal
yeah,
Way.
'cause you're in
Not even
Tacoma.
Tacoma.
That's
Federal
still
Way.
a long ways.
Yeah.
F-dub.
So the remains of Galloping Gertie at the bottom of the Narrows created an artificial reef, and divers in this area have seen huge octopuses.
That's octopi.
Cool.
Nope,
Little
it's
underwater
not.
city from all the rubble down there. Places for the fish to
No, wait,
hide.
hold on. So, octopus, plural, it's not
Octopuses
octopi?
is nope. If you
Really?
Well, it is octopi then. Is that a
Wrong.
baby?
So, what is octopus, plural?
octopuses.
damn.
Octopuses?
Yeah, marine biologists have. It is octopuses. I looked it up
Huh.
for you. Don't need to look it up.
I'm going to show them. I'm just going to back
It
you
was
up.
a test, Brad.
I'm
and
just
they
going to back
totally
you up.
fucking passed.
Okay.
Yeah.
We knew that.
Yeah.
We just want to make sure you guys knew what you're talking about.
So here's one of Tacoma's great myths. So Tacomans tell the story of a 600-pound octopus, coined King Octopus
Naturally.
by the News
Catchy.
Tribune, that sometimes attacks divers.
Oh,
Now,
like wrap around the boat, those pictures that you see.
right.
Asserts dominance.
So you need to go listen
Science fiction looking octopus.
to our
Jules Verne's type of
episode,
octopus.
Release the Kraken, Sea Monsters of the Salish Sea,
I will.
where we talk about this, and we also talk about how it is very unlikely that there is a 600-pound octopus given their lifespan and their normal rate of growth. But that is one of the reasons why Tacoma is cooler.
But the
in
toxic
Seattle.
sludge would account for that. So
Right, that's
you
how
know,
it got so big.
That, exactly.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't think it was radioactive
Well,
Was it glowing?
at the time, maybe.
Definitely got a healthy dose of arsenic and lead in them.
I believe this whole massive octopus under the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was an offshoot of trying to prove how Tacoma was somehow superior to Seattle.
Also, I'd like to say in the Puget Sound, I think we got a octopus down there who's a fighter, or at least a contender for largest
Oh.
octopus. And I don't know my
Oh.
name, but it goes deep down there. I don't know
Brad,
the exact
his name-
mileage.
Oh, no, you're Brad. Hold on. His name is Steve. This is
Is-
Steve here, do we? Steve.
there are areas of Seattle where it is absolute, or
The Puget Sound.
Puget Sound,
Yeah.
where it's absolutely illegal to hunt octopus,
Oh,
even
we're
if
not-
you're going to eat it.
I'm not hunting. I'm just saying he's just down there.
Alki
I'm not
Beach.
advocating.
Alki
Because
Beach
they
not
have the
even
big
2
one.
years ago, right? Very controversial
Oh, yeah, that
about,
one guy killed the octopus.
That's
Yeah,
right.
people were
Yeah.
brought it up,
yeah.
and when people freaked the
douchebag.
fuck out.
Yeah.
They should.
Because
Like, he was-
they're like aliens, man. They're
Yeah.
smart.
Yeah.
So our
Smarter than
weird
us.
sports episode covers octopus wrestling, and
Which was
then
a
it-
Tacoma sport.
Yeah.
Not a. Let's not mention that. It's not a proud moment for
I'm
Tacoma.
earning the competition. I'm on your team right now.
Do you guys remember Paul the octopus from a couple years ago from the World Cups? And he'd have a muscle with the two potential teams, and whatever muscle he would eat, he was the prediction
No.
octopus, and whatever muscle he would eat, then that team would in turn win.
Oh,
And
no.
then he sorely passed away after
Is this
that.
a sports ball thing?
Kind of reference,
Okay,
yeah.
I know.
Paul the octopus. He was a
You'll also hear in our
he was
weird sports
psychic.
that that Shea is not about sports.
Yeah.
So that's why I had to include the octopus wrestling.
But there's
and
octopuses is
just
involved.
entertain her. That's why I brought those sports.
Look at
It
the
was all about
sports. It's
pickleball,
all
the
about the
origination of
octopus.
pickleball in the Northwest.
There we go,
right?
yeah.
And she's like, that is stupid. Nobody likes pickleball. This is
Bainbridge.
dumb.
Is it Bainbridge?
Bainbridge, yeah.
I don't think I said it that way.
No, okay. Probably
Okay.
not, but this is my Shea voice. That is dumb.
Somebody listening
I
to
hate
this
that.
episode
I like
100 years
sports.
in the future, yeah, nobody likes pickleball.
It's
Also,
only
when
the
did I start
fastest growing sport.
smoking 3 packs a day?
Well, when you talk about pickleball, that's when you sound like that.
Get raspy.
You sound like you smoke 3 packs a day.
Yeah, because she hates it so much, like an old crotchety lady.
Nobody likes pickleball.
Marge's sisters.
I was just thinking about going back to the light rail. So when does Tacoma get in the light rail?
I didn't actually see when Tacoma is. I was just looking at when's the next station supposed to open, which
Yeah.
is Federal
That's
Way. Because it's
mine.
Angle Lake is the furthest south it goes
Well,
now.
if we
now,
go
yeah.
by history, I think
Federal
it's
Ways.
25 years after history, or after Federal Way.
Right. Yeah, Federal Way is supposed to open, I think it said February of 2026.
I wonder if that's payback for you guys getting the first train depot back in the 1800s, and now we're just like,
Think
oh, motherfuckers, guess what?
Tacoma
Shots
when we
fired.
feel like it.
Shots fired.
Maybe I shouldn't have started this fight.
After the more important northern territories are taken care of, then we'll go down south.
Okay, fine. Look, throw the gauntlet down. We have the coolest building
The Pantages.
in the Pacific
The
Northwest.
coolest building.
Coolest building.
Stadium High School. I'm sorry. Name one building in
Okay.
Seattle that is as cool as Stadium High School.
Smith Tower.
No.
Just saying.
Smith
It's
Tower,
pretty
is it?
That is not as cool as Stadium. Is it look
Yeah.
like
It was-
Hogwarts? No, it
Yeah,
does not look
I mean,
like
they
Hogwarts.
should
No,
have just
Stadium is
filmed
pretty
there,
cool, I'll give you
actually.
that.
They should have just
It's
filmed
different.
there.
Yeah. That is cool.
Think about it.
I'll give you
there's
that.
I'm throwing that in. I'm putting that in the fight.
Most of them are stacks of glass, which aren't really that interesting. The Darth Vader building looks pretty cool, the Columbia Tower, but
This is very
Modern
much a
piece.
castle.
Yeah.
Very much a castle. And then when you
got-
go on the tour, you learn
Yeah.
where the bricks came from and why they're
Hold
the
on,
way
wait.
they
Who
are.
gives the tour again?
Chris from Pretty Gritty
There we
Tours.
go.
Yes, we are still stalking him. See, Chris, we're still here talking about you.
Cool
You might
old
need to start at that
buildings.
restraining order again.
Cool old buildings makes me think of McMenamins.
Oh, now that is an ultimate.
You know what? Crazy idea. Let's get together and talk about maybe some McMenamins history in the
I
Pacific
mean,
Northwest.
I don't know if you can call
crazy
them
idea.
I don't know if you can call them a dive bar, but oh boy, they're
Yeah, they're
definitely
definitely
a
historic.
Pacific-
Well, we'll
they
go
are,
there- we'll
they
go there
are
and drink.
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
should we save that for an upcoming episode?
Yeah.
You guys
Upcoming,
make a
like,
field
yeah.
trip?
Huge fans
5
of
or
passport
6
holders.
episodes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
big.
Yeah, we were just talking about that.
So we
Let's
could
do
go to
that.
6 Arms.
Oh, you guys got
Yeah.
got
Damn
your
straight.
passports?
Oh wait, you
Yes.
you would slum it up
We'll
north
definitely have our
to
passports.
Seattle? Is that what
Yeah.
you're
Yeah,
saying?
I love that.
Get those stamps
Oh, wow.
on there.
Yeah.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
I'm honored.
I mean, if I'm looking for some crack, that's where
She'll
I
make
gotta
me
head.
Yeah.
She'll make me
Damn
drive,
straight.
but I'll take her.
I'll show you where the really good crack is.
3rd and Pike, baby.
Oh, I was
Podcast juice.
I was
Podcast juice. That's what we call it.
That's Seattle podcast juice.
Yeah, baby.
No, we have our fair share here.
Well, anyway, do you guys want to wrap up? Because we're going to be doing another recording after this. So,
Well, real quick, I'm
Yes,
just going to
really
wrap
quick.
up the reason why Tacoma is better than Seattle.
okay.
This again.
According to the Tacoma News Tribune,
Oh
Okay.
yes, this is
60% of readers ranked Tacoma as a happier city, and Outside Online ranked Tacoma in the top 15 happiest places to live in the U.S. So suck it, Seattle.
okay. How many
pretty
people?
good.
Wait, how many people were part of this survey? Can you tell
Everybody
me?
knows that Seattle is not happy. That's what we're kind of known for. You heard of the Seattle
Cultural
Freeze?
We used to be.
We're not a
grunge
happy
music.
people.
We used to be a
We're-
friendly city. Seattle, I can say we because I used to come from there. But like, and what happened? Where did the Seattle Freeze come from? And
I
we were
don't
like the
know.
friendly Northwestern.
Yeah. If only there were historians that could research that shit for us.
Well, they say it's the Scandinavian influence. Because
Oh, sure. Blame the foreigners.
That's what they
yeah.
say.
Yeah, sure,
nice,
you
Brad,
betcha.
nice.
Yeah, blaming the immigrants.
Yeah, but up there, they're not the foreigners. They are the.
That's why we need to
were the
close the
original
Scandinavian border right now.
I thought they were happy.
All right. Well, I think we've established
A new record of
That
tangents.
Tacoma's better
Yes,
than
record
Seattle.
of-
Yes,
it
we
is.
have.
I digress is one of the things
This
you'll
is
hear
definitely-
most common.
Definitely a new record for the number of rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tangents.
No, I'll
As it
just
should
end it.
be.
Just look at where the light rail is now. Look who has it and who doesn't. And I rest my
The
case.
direction it's going, the
But what does
progress
it
that
do?
it's
So
making.
where does it go?
Damn.
mean, you can't even park there.
Working our way to Vancouver.
It's the Couve. We've been told Vancouver,
okay.
Washington. That's how you
Distinguish.
distinguish it from BC. You just call it the Couve.
The coup.
Wait, which one's the Couve?
Washington.
Washington.
Not BC.
That's why I said we're working our way to Vancouver.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Sorry, I
BC.
was
You're going to
just-
BC.
Yeah, we ain't going south. We've already established there's no reason to go south. We would always be going north.
Oh, you guys can't see my
We were
hand gestures I'm
progressing.
making.
This is when we need to put it
We'll
on
get it
our
on Instagram.
YouTube.
All right. Well, we're going to end this episode by joining together and singing a round of Kumbaya.
Oh, there we go.
That's what we need to do right now.
And a 1 and a 2.
Don't want to
We
hear
definitely
me
need a
sing.
round 3 or round 4 before we're doing that shit.
No, anyway, thank you guys so much for joining us. And before we end the episode, do you guys want to give any shout outs? Is there anything coming up that you guys want to mention? Any events?
Oh, that good, huh? All right.
God, I didn't realize there was going to be a
Tacoma
test.
rules.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this is for Tacoma Beer Week. So
Yep.
come
That's the
down.
shout out.
Yes.
That's the shout out.
So
Brew
Tacoma Beer
5-3?
Week. Brew 5-3.
Hey, now.
So Tacoma Beer Week is between August 9th and August 18th. So you got a lot of time to come down here and explore. You can go to the Tacoma Beer Week. I think it's Beer Week, TacomaBeerWeek.com. And you can see the events. And there's events all week long in the evening. And then, of course, the weekends are full of all sorts of fun events with all the different brewers down here. And then August 10th is Brew 5-3 at Chambers Bay Park, which is where the big famous, in the area of where the big
Next to the
famous
golf course?
golf thingy is. It's a little bit south of Seattle. It's
Wait, more
gorgeous.
sportsing?
There's it's where sports ball stuff happens. I don't know.
With sticks and balls and greens.
You said balls. Sorry.
Again, check out Rating Day Rabbit Holes where
Yes.
we talk about testicles, balls. Everything becomes a
But only if you
Innuendo.
flip in the Patreon.
Yeah, check out the Patreon.
Oh no, not only.
Let's give some more love to the Parkway for hosting us.
Yes.
Hell
Huge
yeah.
love to the Parkway. This is such a cool place. I'm so glad we traveled down for this. And
Yeah.
thank you guys for
thank
hosting
you.
us in your second best city of Washington.
And
Whatever.
let's give them a shout out too. Right after Beer Week, July 27th is their 89th birthday.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
so
that's
they
right.
can blow it out that day.
It's like
Well,
next
They've
week.
got some.
That's this coming weekend.
That's
This
because coming
weekend.
weekend. That's right.
Whoa!
We're gonna have to cut that because this will
We-
be coming out after.
We
That's
may
true.
have
There's
to
gonna
come
be
back
food
and do
trucks,
a
There's probably going to be
follow-up.
some
Yeah.
bands. We're going to
Yeah.
record.
Yeah.
We're going to open it up.
It is amazing.
Might have to
Sounds
cut
like
down.
a lot of fun.
But yeah, the Parkway was so cool about doing this. Apparently, Grit and Grain used to record here, so we're not the first podcasters to wander in, but they were so accommodating, and they're just so cool. So everybody should come visit the Parkway Tavern.
Yep, shout out
Yeah.
to
Not
Parkway.
too many people because we got to keep it cool.
Yeah,
Not
it's
get
on the
too
DL.
crowded and trendy and
I've had a unique and fun experience every time I've been here, and I've been here multiple times over the years. It is a great place.
Yeah, yeah.
sounds like a damn good dive bar to me. Wow, what a fucking idea.
Well, on that note, thank you for tuning in. And until next time, cheers.
Cheers.
Thanks everybody.
Adios.
Cheers.